But technology's changed a lot, but it's also the same stuff it was in the 80s, right? Like a Raspberry Pi is about 1.5 without a fan, 2.4 gigahertz, which is significant once it's sped up, quad core computer. But like compare that to a room in the 60s, like the Cray was just as powerful as that, right? And the Cray was $50,000-$60,000. So it's like the technology was only but it was $56,000, but then the people who used it were at Carnegie Mellon and they were students. So it didn't mean anything to them. So it's like, it's weird when you start looking at the kind of culture that created the world that we're living in today, because it had massive abundance. And the future, like if you can have any color Lamborghini and it doesn't cost you anything because there's no scarcity, like this is this weird future that we're heading into, is like the non-scarcity based virtual economy of the future, where like everyone can have what they want. And I mean, think of all the problems that go away. Like you can stop worrying about if you're not pretty, if you're not handsome, if you're not a woman or a man, like even like, or whatever suit, is it Prada or Gucci? Like whatever, how little or big your problem is, all of it's material for the most part. So
that's right.
First thing is you can deal with the material in a virtual reality. Second thing is you can realize it's just a virtual reality. And then like, so hopefully eventually the meta of having a Razr phone over and over again will be people don't care about their grandfather's violin, they care about the music. And so the phone switches, but they just care about the song. You know, they have their play, and then people will have hyper materialism will lead to a lack of interest in materialism. Yeah. And I think we'll probably transcend it because of it.
But I don't think that we can bring this concept of materialism to Mars, you know. I mean, we want to colonize Mars. How can we bring all of those attributes, you know, like fucking fancy bags and all of those oligarchs with us? You know, it just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So like, I know what we have.
There's two kinds of Mars, right? Like, so one that's interesting is like, I love how crazy the internet is. There are people that totally believe that we don't live on a globe and that there's no outer realm, but at the same time, there are luminaries, and so you could live in a sort of dimension. So on that level, who knows what Mars is really like, and this idea that they're creating a red Earth that people can live in, you're never gonna be able to go back from it. Seems like you're just selling your soul to the Tartarus. So I don't know about the whole Mars colonization thing. Having said that, if you could take a submarine and you can Stargate it to anywhere, then it could easily be coming out into this other place. So I see it more like, well, Mars is made of iron. It'll be really quick, if it's anything like that they're describing it, to 3D print materials and then start to build prefab things. And the real thing that can't transport itself to Mars is waste, is entropy, is, you know, like even extreme growth, because extreme growth can be sustained only so much. So what we do is you have a certain amount of growth and then it's cut off. And so all the steel mill starts going, the free energy starts flowing. And then you have, you know, I mean, have you seen Dune? They're making a new Dune. You should read the book Dune and see the movie Dune. They're making a new one. It's about a world where they have sandworms that make drugs that heal you and open space-time holes. Dune's amazing. Star Wars is based on Dune. But the Bene Gesserits are trying to hide all this. Anyway, they have, wherever they go, they shoot a needle out of a gun, like a cannon gun, and the needle has a cable, and then they connect the cable at either end, and then goes these monorails. So all you need is one of those cannon guns, and you shoot the rail to the other end like 10 miles, and then attach it, and then you've got, anywhere in a sandstorm, you've got this monorail train. So the amount of waste that we can avoid is impressive. And the amount of waste.
But like this is like more technological thing, man. I'm talking about the remnants of old prestige, you know, just like aristocracy shit, where you have these people like, who is in charge, you know, or who like, these fuckers with money, and they're like basically wasting it, like while other people are like working hard to push that needle. So my point is like, when we are actually going to, like, I don't know if you're gonna do this or not, but we cannot bring that old style, you know, like materialism to the Mars, you know, to the planet.
Right. Yeah. There's going to be like each according to their own.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
There could be a point where, like, this is the other option: is we wait 100 years. So you nuke. You know, Elon Musk talked about you nuke the sky, And then after 100 years, you've got this greenhouse-affected rainforest, and you seed it with all the different animals, and so they run rampant, and then eventually we just tax it like Africa. Like we just take Mars on and then genocide and endanger and extinctionize all of the species like we did here. That's a very human thing to do. And then we can go back. But I would like to see it differently. What I'd like to see is humans start to figure out how to get what they need virtually for the most part, because you don't need, I mean, if you could hunt an elephant in a cyber experience and it was just as good or better, then you don't need to kill an elephant. I think that would be awesome. I don't want people like just killing all the elephants all the time.
Yeah, and war should also be like a virtual thing too.
Yeah, I mean, war is a virtual thing. That's sports. If you go back to football, soccer in Argentina and in Mexico, they used to kick a skull around, and the winner got killed. They played lacrosse and soccer in front of the pyramids for thousands of years. So it's like, sports. You got teams switching back and forth. Gamification of war is essential, because otherwise you also lose people that can. If you lose your soldiers completely, like you want people that are like, I was in Nam and he's teaching, or the Gulf, whatever, he's teaching these kids, because then the next time a war comes around, 9 times out of 10, the best ones at war are the people that were trained by people who'd been to war. So you've got to keep keep it alive in the gamification, but and patriotism, right? Because you'll be willing to love your team so much that you'll hate your neighbor, and that's huge. Otherwise, you wouldn't go along with war for the most part, because it's just,
Yeah, interesting. All right. 10% left. I would go on this first. Like, goddamn, I have some ideas in my head, but I know it's like what, 5%, 6% now.
Yeah, hold on. Last question, Andreas.
7.
Andreas, do you know that flag behind him?
The Japanese flag.
No.
What happened to it? Lost its rays.
It's not Japanese.
Yeah.
The Chinese flag with the red sun.
Yeah.
No, it's Qin Dynasty. Yeah, the last empire.
It's the Qing Dynasty flag. Got it. Yeah, I didn't know that. No, that's pretty rad. The dragon, because their royal family they say came from a dragon.
Yeah, that's a representation of Li Xiaolong.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm looking this up now. So the Song Dynasty is the same as the Qing Dynasty, or different?
No, it's different. The Qin Dynasty, the last dynasty, the last.
Qing with a Q.
Yeah.
Figured as much.
Whoa. Serious sassy tonight. Yeah, the Q, man. The Q keeps coming up, man. Like the Q Dynasty. Like queue it up, and then queuing on and everything. I wonder what's up with the. So what do you think? Is the Q Dynasty? Are you trying to bring it back, or why? Is that like a thing?
No, I was just curious if you knew that flag, because you know a lot of world history. So I was just wondering.
I wish I could have pulled it. I mean, I couldn't see perfectly behind his head, but even still, I wouldn't have recognized it right away. But it's interesting that it's it looks like kind of the snake, don't tread on me American flag. It looks like the original American flag. In a lot of ways, probably the same.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe there's some connection, But all right.
Yeah. I'm trying to send you down a rabbit hole, Andreas, but
they have totem poles in the West Coast. The Haida and the Hazda have totem poles that are set up because the Chinese would bring them overseas. And so if you look in China, you see totem poles, right? And so the Vikings, the Chinese, that's another reason the Tartarians are so closely connected, is because parts of China were Uyghur, and the Uyghur are, they're like Turkish. They're like essentially the Tartar. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the other thing about the Manchurians. The Qing Dynasty was Manchurian, and the Manchurians died out essentially, because there's very few left, because there was a war. And the Spanish flu wiped out 100 million of them. But yeah, it's pretty brutal.